Grace and peace.
Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Berean TV. I just dropped a video, got questions for the Israelites. It's hard to talk to them in the streets when I see them in the streets and stuff because they're evangelizing. You know, they're doing what they do. So, you know, they'll ask you sometime, you got a question, and they'll try to answer the question on the spot, or they'll go and they'll run to a scripture and they'll read one scripture. But the problem that I have with that is you got to be careful with biblical interpretation. Anybody can make any verse in the Bible say anything they want. That's how come the Bible is so dangerous. People will just take one verse of scripture and make anything sounds like it's right and exact in the Bible when it's not right and exact in the Bible. I was sharing in that other video how I talked to an Israelite brother, and I asked him, how do y'all come about with the doctrine? Because different camps believe different things. How do y'all come about with your doctrine? He said, because of the Spirit of the Most High. Now, I don't have a problem with that, because you're supposed to pray that God's Spirit, the Spirit of the Most High, leads you in reading His Word. In Psalms, David prayed, open thou my eyes, that I might behold wondrous things out of thy law. David wasn't blind, but he needed his spiritual eyes opened up. So I acknowledge what that, I forgot that brother's name. I acknowledge what that brother was saying. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, it has to be more than the Spirit of the Most High when we're dealing with interpretation of Scripture. Or there wouldn't be so many different Israelite camps all over believing a whole bunch of different things. Is the Apostle Paul a real apostle? Is he a false apostle on the messiahship of Jesus? There's a lot of stuff that they differ on. So that's what I want to talk to you about in this video. And before I really get into it, I want to explain, or the main heart of this thing should be a couple of words that I want to define. I want to define something like hermeneutics. What's systematic theology? I just can't run and grab one verse of scripture and teach a whole doctrine on angels. So systematic theology, they have something called angelology. Ology is just a study of something. Sociology, psychology, biology, that's just a study of something. So when you see somebody say something like angelology in systematic theology, that's studying angels from Genesis to Revelation. What the entire Bible have to say about angels, and I put all of that together and I can get a doctrine. Demonology. What does the Bible say about demons in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, all through from Genesis to Revelation? Soteriology. What does the Bible say about salvation and stuff like that? So I want to talk, that's systematic theology right now. But the other thing that I want to talk, the main thing that I want to talk about is what we call hermeneutics. That's interpretation. That's just a $20 word, but that's just interpretation. What is your hermeneutic, Israelites? How do y'all interpret the Bible? You open up one scripture and the scripture says salvation is of the Jews. Bang, that's John 4, and you're right. Salvation is of the Jews, and you close the book up. But they have what we call a 20-20 rule in hermeneutics, or a 10-10 rule. These are just principles that we go by. Don't let a Jehovah Witness walk up to you, a Mormon walk up to you, anybody in the cult walk up to you and just read one verse of scripture. I'm going to give y'all an example of it. Back in the days, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and Farrakhan, they used to open up the Bible and quote John 8:44. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your fathers you will do. 5%ers did it too on the Clarence 13 next. Bang, they would close the Bible up and they would start interjecting what that scripture means to them. The white man is the devil and the black man is God from John 8:44. But if you read that scripture, you got to know who Jesus was talking to. Was he talking to the Canaanites? Was he talking to the Pharisees and the scribes? Was he talking to the Greeks, the Gentiles? Was he talking to everybody? Was he talking to a branch of Ethiopians? Who was he talking to? So when we deal with hermeneutics, when we deal with biblical interpretation, we can't properly exegete. That's what they call it. That's what the scholars call it. You can't exegete, or you can't properly draw out the truth of a scripture if you don't understand who the person was talking to. Why did they say what they were saying? So when we start dealing with that, there's certain things we got to understand. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go straight to the Bible. I explained what exegete means. Exegete means to draw out of the scripture. The other word is eisegete. This all have to do with hermeneutics. Eisegete means to isolate the verse. John 8:44. You are of your father the devil. The white man is the devil, and the black man is God. I'm reading into the text what I feel, but I'm reading one text and I'm building on that with my own doctrine. Now, when you start dealing with what we call the 20-20-10-10 principle, you use one verse, John 8:44, you are of your father the devil, and you'll go read 10 verses up and 10 verses down, and then you draw the truth out of that one scripture. How's another way I can explain it? You get on a map and you look at Google Earth. I want to look at Long Island. I want to look at Brooklyn. I want to look at something on Google Earth. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to see the whole country. Then I'm going to zero it down to Manhattan. I'm going to zero it down to Harlem. Then I'm going to zero it down to 125th Street. Then I'm going to zero it down to the Apollo. We got to do the same thing when we're dealing with interpretation of the scripture. I'm going to just read a couple of verses of scripture. I'm going to use, for example, Matthew 15. The Israelites love this scripture right here, and they know it off the top of their head. But I'm going to just read it. Matthew 15:24. But he answered her and he said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Bind, Jesus is only for the original Israelites, and Jesus ain't for nobody else. And they just read that scripture, and that sounds good. And that sounds good because that is in the red. Anytime it's in the red in the King James Bible, it's not narration from Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. It's not narration. Anytime they read it like that, those are the words of Jesus. Israelites believe that. Christians believe that. A few other people believe that. A good handful of people believe that. Those that stand on the authority of the scriptures. Israelites, every camp, stand on the authority of the scriptures. Catholics, Baptists, Protestants, all them folks stand on the authority of the scriptures. So we got two camps here. We got the Israelites and we got the church. Well, when I say the church, we got to be careful because some of them Israelites, they get confused. One brother starts saying, oh, dag the church and Creflo Dollar, and started talking all this crazy stuff. If you look at Acts 7:38, when Moses came down off the mountain, he came to the church. The church was the congregation. The church is just the people or the believers. So the Israelites got to be careful with that. A lot of times we say stuff, but that brother was probably talking in ignorance, but because Acts 7:38, the Israelite camp is called the church. That's in King James Bible. Y'all like that. So I'm going to read a little bit more of this scripture right here using that 10-10 or 20-20 principle to see if I can get this in its proper context. This lady is a Canaanite woman. Canaanite wasn't original. She wasn't an original Israelite. She was outside of what we call the promises of God. I'm going to just go up to because I believe y'all can get clarity from it. I'm going to read from the 21st verse, Matthew 15:21-28. The 24th verse is the verse that Israelites love to read, but let's look at it in its context and see what Jesus' attitude was towards this girl. Then Jesus went hence, and he departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon, and behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. She called him the son of David. She's a Canaanite woman. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. Her daughter's strung out, whatever's going on. Her daughter's messed up, and she's looking to the Messiah. That's the Messiah of Israel. She's looking to him for help, and she's calling him by his messianic title, Son of David. Let me just keep reading. 23rd verse says, but he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But Jesus answered and said unto her, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Verse 25, then came she and worshipped him. But he answered and said unto her, it is not meet, it's not right to take the children's bread and to give it to the dogs. And she said unto him, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat the crumbs which fall from the master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee as thou wilt. And her daughter was whole from that very hour. Now I can close the book because I read the whole thing. When it comes down to it, the woman is a daggone Canaanite woman, and Jesus not only healed her daughter, Jesus praised her for her faith. The only two times in the scripture that Jesus praised somebody for their faith, they were not Israelites. This Canaanite woman and the centurion man. Y'all like what y'all hear? I'm going to get into the rest of it later on. Y'all just subscribe. I got more videos. Got questions? Berean TV. Thanks for watching.